Welcome to Albuquerque Real Estate Talk with Tego and Tracy. Venturi of the Venturi Group of Real Broker in Albuquerque, New Mexico. We've been talking about real estate in Albuquerque for a while. Episode 453. We come here every week, talk about what's going on in the residential real estate market here in Albuquerque. Could I talk any faster?
That's what I was going to say. I'm like, take a breath so I can interject and say, could you talk any faster, Tego? You must have a lot of great real estate stuff you want to talk about today.
Well, first off, it's midsummer, mid-year.
Very hot this week. Very July-like.
Very July-like. We had a beautiful 4th of July. Lots of fireworks in Albuquerque this week.
Wow. There was some boomers around our house for sure.
Wherever.
Yeah.
Oh, all the poor dogs. Oh,
and people.
Yeah. And people. Yeah. Yeah. Not for everybody. But we have a new month. We've got some data. We've got this, first half of the year. Some really interesting statistics on Albuquerque's resale market and what's happening with homes that sold in Albuquerque. I've got the latest data on that for June.
Tego, we didn't talk about what we're talking about, but I knew you'd have stats, but I didn't even realize that it's a new month and half the year is over. So I bet you have some great info.
We do.
Yeah.
We do. And then what else we have? We've got something that's been coming up a lot. We've got a story on it is, should I renovate or relocate, right?
Yeah. Couple of good points on that. I thought it was, we've got some really good information.
Well, since the pandemic, there was just like resale and, everybody wanted a different house. There was a remodel boom because people are going, oh my gosh, my home isn't working for me. I need to change it. And so now people are kind of in this place like, okay, should I stay? Should I, fix it up, make it for what I need, or should I find something else?
Right.
Just around the real estate world this week, a couple things that have happened. Tracy, I've been following the artificial intelligence stuff. I know we talked about a little bit last week. Oh, and by the way, if you want to get a hold of us, you can call our office at 505-448-8888, and our website is welcomehomeabq.com.
You heard our phone ringing behind us, and
Yeah.
It made you remember we needed to tell people how to reach us. And we're on Kiva, 1600 AM.
Yep.
We've been on the station for a long time, the whole 9 years, right?
Yep.
453 episodes. We've barely missed weeks. We've
missed a few.
We miss a few, but most weeks we're here talking real estate, which we love to do. And we're around. We've got a team of realtors. If you're interested in buying or selling a home, or you need some advice, you just want to know what your home is worth, give us a call. We can help you. There's been a lot of people lately, Tego, who've taken advantage of cash offers on their properties. And, it really solves a problem for a lot of people when they do want a cash offer. So we offer that. We offer a guaranteed sale where if you want to go and buy something, we can guarantee ahead of time that we can get your current house sold so that you can confidently move forward and buy your new house. And that works especially well for new construction, right?
For sure.
Yeah, because new construction might be 2 or 3 months down the road before the house is ready, or 6 or 8 months down the road before your house is ready, depending on what you're building. And we can kind of guarantee to that builder that you want to work with that we'll make sure your house is sold so you can move forward with the buy on the new house. But we have other programs too. So we'd love to chat and see what kind of real estate needs you have, or just chat real estate. We like that too. So give us a ring.
I didn't forget. So if you're listening and you thought, oh, he forgot about it. He forgot because he started to talk about AI and artificial intelligence in real estate, but I didn't forget. I
was trying to distract you.
No, I've been doing some research and been putting together some content to train some realtors on artificial intelligence in real estate. And there's a couple, obviously the language models in ChatGPT and writing different stuff, different content for different contexts in real estate, even property descriptions. But the image stuff is a big deal. And there's a lot going on in the image space. And what I found is a lot of apps out there now where you can take a photograph of a room, for example, and it will, using AI and, language, what do they call it? Math.
Yeah.
It'll figure out what the walls are, what the furniture is, and it allows you to redesign the room. The one that I've been checking out a lot is called now I forgot. Oh man.
Imager?
No. Okay. See, sorry.
I thought if
that.
I said a wrong name, you'd go, no, I'd help you out. Anyway, a lot of interesting things going on because there's not just Chat GPT, which everyone seems to think is the only thing, right?
Yeah, no, in real estate, there's a lot of imaging stuff going on, and there's actually a product out there now. If you're searching for homes and you pull up a photo of a home that's for sale and say you're looking at the living room, it actually is built into the app on the website where you can actually redesign the room right there and experiment with different looks for a room, just right there from your
It's really neat.
computer.
I love that, where you can just say, I want this, now try a different style, and it just shows you the room. It's awesome.
Now, so, Tracy, I'm going to have to go.
You're going to look it up?
I got to look it up.
So while you're looking it up, Tego, I'm just going to mention there's a lot of open houses this weekend, all parts of town, the whole metro area. Best way to find out about those is just go to our website, welcomehomeabq.com, and click on the link to open houses, because it lists all of the open houses that have been put in our multiple listing service, not just the Venturi Realty Group's open houses. So you can see all of them and make some plans. Of course, we'd love to show them to you in person ourselves, but if you want to go to open houses, that's an option. So what'd you learn?
Reimagine Home. So RE like real estate, imaginehome.com. And that's where you can drop a photo of a room, your own house, whatever, and you can experiment with different looks.
I'm going to do that this weekend.
And all kinds of stuff. No, because then you'll give me a honey-do list. I don't want that.
Yeah, and you love those honey-do lists. Yeah, I know you do.
Sure, I do. Yeah. If you believe that,
so
that's great.
Give us some stats, Tego. I'm most curious, since we haven't talked about the first 6 months or last month and how things turned out. I would love to hear some data from my data guy.
So, Tracy, I'm going to start off with the prices. That's what everybody's most curious about, or what's going on with home prices. And the big takeaway, I did a video on this that you can check out on YouTube or on Facebook, where I broke down some interesting trends in what's going on with home prices in Albuquerque. But the real headline is that home prices hit an all-time new high in Albuquerque.
And that's what we said on a show or two ago.
Well, I already knew it was going to happen. It's just, May hit a new high, June hit a new high again, which was not so sure, because last year, May, June were the peaks of the entire year. And then it kind of pulled back a little bit throughout the summer and into the winter, which is not uncommon. But anyway, right now, median price for single family detached homes in the greater Albuquerque area, that's all homes that sold in June, was $363,000. That's the new median. And if you look at average, it's over 400. It's now 414,000.
Wow. So, all-time high.
All-time high average price. And I also always look at price per square foot, Tracy, as you know, just because that's a better, it takes out some of that size of house variable when you're looking at prices. That's also a new high now, $203 per square foot. And when we measure square foot for a house, that's heated living space in a house.
So if a garage is heated and somebody's using it as a workshop, that is not heated living space.
Correct.
Just to be clear.
Great.
Because we've had that before.
Yeah, that comes up.
Yeah.
And then, the other big story is the number of homes for sale is, even though last year it was really, and let me just give you the percentages there, because I think that's probably more critical than anything. So price per square foot from last year, about 4% from June of last year.
Wow.
And if we look at that on a quarterly and, take out some of the variables that when you're looking at a small data set of just 1 month, but if we look at a full quarter, and we look at this quarter, which was second quarter versus second quarter of last year, up about 3%. So home prices, overall did move up from last year, which was questionable because that second quarter of last year was the previous all-time high.
Right.
And so even with these higher interest rates than when we had a year ago, home prices still continue to go up in Albuquerque. And that's not true all over the country, right? You and I look at this all the time, and there's other markets where home prices haven't gone up year over year, right? They pulled back quite a bit through the winter.
Right.
Most markets have come back up in the spring, but not up to what they were last year. But that's just a few markets:
Right.
Phoenix, Boise, Austin, San
Silicon
Francisco,
Valley.
a lot of California markets.
Right.
So anyway, and then the number of homes sold is down about 25% from last year, and that's due to just it's not for demand, right?
We know there's demand. Buyers are out looking. Our realtors on our team have been out showing a lot of houses, but there's just not a lot to show.
Not a lot to show.
A lot of competition.
There are a lot of homes. Somebody was asking me the other day, and we were trying to kind of diagnose this market and figure out, it just feels odd because it's this weird thing where there's buyers out there's people that want to buy homes, but prices have gone up so much in the last few years, and now interest rates went up so much that a lot of people are just really struggling to find something that works for them for their budget. So what we're seeing are homes, in the lower price point, let's say 350 and under. That's funny. Now we say 350 and under is now the lower price points for Albuquerque. The choices are very limited. And then we're also seeing, Tracy, in that luxury market, right? That kind of higher end, let's say $1 million and above. There's people out there. Obviously, there's not as many homes, but there is some activity there as well. There
is. We have a few houses that are luxury. It's funny that you said $1 million, because we used to talk on the radio not very many months ago and say, luxury 500,000 and up, and then we started saying 600,000 or 700,000 and up, and now you're saying luxury $1 million up. So we had the house in Corrales with $1,350,000 or something, or $1,450,000, and it had a lot of showings before it went sold, right?
Yep.
There were a lot of people looking in that price range. And then we have one that we just put on the market last weekend in North Rio Grande. And it had an open house last weekend, and there were probably 40 different groups through that house at the open house, plus several showings in addition to that. So there are people out looking.
Yeah.
For sure.
Couple other things, and I keep saying the big story about the market, and I'm going to say it one more time because they're all the big story about the market. The other one is the number of people actually listing their homes, and if you're looking at this online, or if you're looking at my chart here, I'm going to show you something pretty dramatic. And what it's showing us is, if you go back to, let's say 2019, there were about 16,000 homes listed for sale in our entire metro Albuquerque area
for a year,
16,000, right? And then at the pandemic, we had a big pullback and less people were listing their homes. That, obviously stay put. But what happened is, starting in 21, it just kept declining and declining and declining. And so right now, this year, we're on a pace to have under 10,000 homes listed for sale versus just 16,000 just a few years ago. So we've got this huge change in the number of people listing their homes for sale. People are just not moving as office. They're staying put. How many conversations do we have as people say, I've got that 3% interest rate. Why would I want to sell and pay a 7% interest rate to get a house that's not quite as much as what I have for the same payment?
Yeah. And the ones that we've seen in the last week or so, we saw people over the 4th of July. I mean, we were working Monday, but 4th of July weekend, a lot of people we saw that we don't see very often.
Yeah.
And the discussion was, I'm thinking of selling, but I want to save the house that I currently own and make it a rental. And, we're seeing a lot more of that, where they are buying another house, but the one that they're currently in isn't coming up for sale because people are keeping it to keep that low interest rate, right?
Yeah.
And that's more common, I think, right now. So that leads me to, should I renovate or should I relocate?
Yeah, and that was our topic. Other topic for the week, Tracy, is this story. It's like, okay, so let's say you've got that home, but it's not working for you. You need more room. It's outdated. You want something different, better, whatever. Yeah. So the question is, I guess you've got a story and a story you put together that was, what are the 3 questions to help you decide if you should renovate or relocate, right?
And I'm going to jump right to what are the 3 questions. What are your motivations for making change is number 1, right? Number 2 is, You know, what does Renovate look like? How hard is it? Do you have the funds? Can you do what you need to do?
So the financial piece
The
of it.
financial piece, plus is the property feasible?
Yeah.
And is the area that you're in not where you want to be in anymore for some reason, right? So those are kind of the three things, right? What's your motivation for making change? Is it that your home, current home can't be modified to address the need? That might mean you need to move, right? Certain issues, dated kitchens, bathrooms, they're pretty easy to remodel, right? But you know, if you're on a busy street, or your lot is too small to add on the room you need, or things like that that constrict the ability to make it what you need, then maybe it is relocate versus renovate.
Well, one of the renovate things, if I can just chime in there, is we've been talking about a lot, is this whole idea of building a casita on your property. If you need more room, Albuquerque just passed that ordinance, or changed really the residential zoning ordinance for R1 properties, that in certain areas you are going to be allowed to build a auxiliary ADU, they call them, auxiliary dwelling unit, or
I thought it was accessory dwelling unit. So
dwelling.
I'm not sure. I think they mean the same thing.
Yeah, I guess that's a good point.
You know,
but so I mean, that would be something people might want to look into now. Again, it's not every house, every neighborhood in Albuquerque, and so on and so forth, but it's something you could check into.
Yeah, and you know, not homes in our Albuquerque don't typically have an attic or a basement that you can convert to more living space, right? We're sort of limited with most of our houses being built on slab.
Yeah.
And yeah, there are a few homes. There were a few builders who have built with basements, but very, very unusual. Some of the problem with remodeling versus relocating is having the funds to do the renovate, right? If you want to add on space to your house, you need to do a serious renovation. You know, where do the funds come from? Do you refinance your house and take cash out to get the cash to do the work?
I say no.
Do you have the cash to do the work versus buying the right house and having it all wrapped into one loan?
Or you can get a HELOC.
You get a home equity line of credit against your current house for some of the equity you have in it. And there's some great ways to get HELOCs, right? We know several lending options for that.
And let me just clarify that, because this is a common misconception, is a HELOC, you don't go to a mortgage broker to get a home equity line of credit. You go to a bank.
And the credit unions are great for home equity lines of credit too. Banks and if we were going to do one, I'd say let's go to a credit union.
Yeah, no. I know Kirtland has some great programs.
Sandia area.
Sandia, Newsenda. Yeah. All the usual suspects here in town, for sure.
So why relocate? You know, sometimes rebuilding your house even from the ground up wouldn't solve your problem, even if you scraped it and started over, right? Because sometimes the location, the size of your lot, the other environmental things going on around your house might not be changeable, right? Maybe sometimes you've switched jobs and now you need a different commute, right? Or you need to live closer to some family members or something, right? So that's when relocating is obviously a better option, right?
Yeah.
But the shift to remote to work has also opened up a lot of options for people. So relocating is more of an option for some people. Although I was with a client this week at a home inspection, and she's been working from home, and her company had said, yeah, you can stay working from home. We're not going to make you come in. And now there's all this discussion that maybe a few days a week, they're going to start requiring him to come in. And that might be a problem for some people.
If you set your whole life up around that, and now suddenly you're required to start coming in, it could change things.
I know. It was like, oh my gosh, my commute, if I have to go, I have to think about childcare. My dog's used to me being home, all those types of things. It would be my dog that would miss me most, right? So there's reasons why you might want to relocate and make a geographical change. So there's sort of some of the reasons of whether you should renovate or relocate.
For people that have never done a major remodel on a home they're living in, something they need to think about is how much is it going to disrupt their life? You know, Tracy, you and I, a couple of years, maybe just a year or so into our marriage, we decided to do a major remodel on the house, and we lived in it while it was going on, and we made it work. But that is something people need to consider too. Totally.
We had two little kids. I think they were 2 and 3, maybe. Yeah. Or just under that. And we moved our refrigerator to 1 bedroom because we literally took down walls, changed walls, ripped out the whole kitchen, the whole house. And we actually had a bed in the bedroom with the microwave on a table and a refrigerator. And that, luckily the contractor then, that was 24 years ago, Tego.
Yeah.
Luckily the contractor did exactly what he said he was going to do. And it was in and out in the time he said. But you're living in sawdust and dust and working around things and eating microwave food and trying to keep the kids out of the mess.
So I think the takeaway here is if you've got your home and you're like, wow, it's not really working for me. Should I renovate or should I relocate? I think the real thing is it's a tough thing. There's a lot to consider right now, especially with, prices on everything from remodeling
Materials.
costs to moving costs and interest rates and so on. So if you're having a hard time figuring it out, well, you're not the only one. It is a tough one right now. So just, if you need somebody to bounce that stuff off of, we're always happy to help anything real estate related. Right, Tracy?
Oh, yeah. And now I'm thinking back to that AI you talked about earlier, Reimagine, was it?
Exactly, Reimagine Home.
I'm thinking I'm going to have some projects for you because we've been in our house for 22 years now.
It's just getting broken in.
And we had it built when our kids were very little.
Yep.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So just a reminder, Tego, we have a 25th wedding anniversary in about 2 weeks.
Oh, really?
Just in case you were wondering.
Tracy, I saw a story. It came through one of the real estate publications that I follow, but also it was from the New York Times. And New York Times named modern farmhouse the defining style of the 2020s. So think Chip and Joanna, the Gaines and Gaines, right?
Chip and Joanna Gaines, yeah.
And that style, and it's very popular. It's interesting because the last house that I remodeled here in Albuquerque, I went that full style because
totally
it's what everybody loves.
It's interesting because when you showed me that article, I had nostalgia for growing up in Minnesota in a farmhouse. It did not look like a modern farmhouse.
Right.
Ours was a pretty ratty old farmhouse, but it was home. We made great memories there. But I looked at this and, we live in a northern New Mexico style house. And I thought I would love to live in that property. That picture they showed, the white house with the black shutters and the pitched roof and then the modern part of it. And, Fellowship Homes here locally, they've been building that style. They've been working with the designer draftsperson to kind of build the modern farmhouse. It's been around for a few years. It's a fun one. So
the thing that's interesting about that is you think about New Mexico and our northern New Mexico style home, right? Which is, stucco exterior with usually metal roof, pitched roof style. And those are farmhouse. It's a farmhouse style. Yeah,
for sure. It's that northern New Mexico. It had the pitched roof because they get some snow there, and it helps the snow run off when it gets warm in the afternoon after a snow.
Yeah.
Yeah. Same as Minnesota. They don't do flat roofs in Minnesota. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, no. And the sun doesn't come out and melt off.
It doesn't come out. Yeah. The sun doesn't come out and the snow doesn't melt. And by about March, everybody's stir crazy and going crazy and losing their minds. So.
Yeah, for sure. Tracy, one other, kind of, I don't want to say big story, but story of the week in the real estate world was mortgage rates, interest rates, and the financial markets. And, a lot of news about the financial markets. Unfortunately, this is going to be crazy to say this, but the jobs numbers were good. And, it's
meaning people that want to be employed are employed.
Exactly. And that is something that the Fed's looking at. And, it's this whole thing. It's like if the economy's too strong and they feel like inflation is going to keep going up, they're going to keep raising the Fed rate, which will then trickle down into mortgage rates. Now, I said it 100 times. It's not a one-to-one. They're not directly related or correlated. No, they're not directly connected, but they are correlated. So if the Fed raises the rates, it makes the cost of money higher overall, which then makes the bond market more expensive, which makes mortgage rates go up, right? So it kind of just flows through the whole thing. And so right now, this week, mortgage rates ticked up a little bit.
But they ticked back
but
down
they
again.
ticked back down, and that's the whole thing. I don't think a lot of people understand is, I mean, mortgage rates go up and down every day.
By the hour, by the minute.
Yeah, well, but
I mean, they go
yeah,
up and down all day long
yeah,
throughout the day.
Yeah, throughout
it's not
the day.
One for the day.
Well, sometimes there'll be a price sheet in the morning, but then maybe it'll get repriced in the afternoon. Sometimes up, sometimes down.
Right.
But if you're, I'm definitely no mortgage expert in the sense of what some of the loan officers are. So that's something you want to talk with your loan officer about. But it's a big conversation in the real estate world right now because the cost of money is a huge issue on housing, and the cost of housing in general is a challenge for just about everywhere and every place. But I'm going to remind everybody that yes, homes in Albuquerque have gotten a lot more expensive. I just told us earlier, $363,000 is now the median price for June for closed homes, highest of all time. However, we're still less than a lot of comparable markets: Tucson, Phoenix, Las Vegas, Denver markets, Colorado Springs, San Antonio. We're about equal. We're more than like El Paso, for example. We get compared to a lot. We're more expensive than El Paso, but our wages are higher than El Paso.
Right.
And I've talked about that before.
Right.
So it's a weird time out there because we still have a shortage of real estate nationwide, and in Albuquerque for sure. And we have a shortage of rental properties as well, and properties to rent. So prices just keep going up. It's simple supply and demand right now. So I'm not sure where we're gonna bottom out, but I guess where I've come to, I went all the way back to the market. Do you like how I did that? I just snuck it right back in.
My market guy, my statomatic is what you are.
It just came right back to it. Is that it's always supply and demand, and let's say mortgage rates go up even more. Let's say that now they're in the sevens. Let's say they go up to 7.5. That's going to price more people out, so demand will go down some more. But again, the supply is still very, very limited. There's just not as many homes available to purchase. So it's an interesting market right now. It's going to be interesting to see how it shakes out.
Which we've been saying for a long time.
Yeah, which we have.
It's been interesting since COVID hit, really.
It's been interesting since March 2020. Yeah, for sure. And that's kind of like the understatement of the decade. It's been interesting since March 2020.
Yeah.
I mean, that's kind of like everything and everywhere, right? And,
totally.
Everything changed from that point on, for sure.
Yeah, we'll all remember that. We all remember the day we got sent home from the office.
Yeah. Those were weird days. I remember being here in the office, our office on Alameda near Rio Grande in Albuquerque, and nobody on Alameda. I was here by myself just because I wanted to be here and just be here. It was weird.
I think that means you didn't want to be working by me. You were trying to get away from me interrupting you. I see that look on your face.
I'm busted.
Yeah.
I'm so busted. So Tracy, if somebody wants to reach out to us about real estate in Albuquerque, we've got a home to buy, a home to sell, just questions, want to get valuations, we've got a great new tool to help people to keep up on the value of their home and the equity in their home as well.
Sure. Just give us a ring, 448-8888, or online, welcomehomeabq.com. Just, speak to us there. We'd be happy to get back to you and see how we can help.
Awesome.
Have a great weekend, everybody.
Enjoy the heat.
Enjoy the heat. And we know a lot of people are on vacation, but, we're here, we're working. So if you need something, let us know.